I had someone comment on one of my videos, and he wanted to know common issues or problems that you face when you're in a bounce house rental business. And he listed a few, and he listed holes in your bounce house if I ever ran into any liability issues, bad customers, and then I also want to tell you about some of the hardest things for me in the bounce house rental business when I was doing it, and my worst rental ever. So the first thing he talked about was holes. And have I ever gotten any tears or rips in bounce houses? And I rented for 4 years, and it happened to me 3 times where it got a hole in a bounce house. All of them were pretty minor. The 2 of the times were dogs, so either biting it or getting on it. And the other time, I don't know what happened, but there was a small hole in it, a slit. All 3 of them were easy fixes, so just a patch and gluing it on, and that was it. It does probably affect the resale value of your inflatable when you have a patch, but other than that, it wasn't too big of a deal. Liability issues was another concern he had. I rented out for 4 years, so I think the last year I had over 350 rentals, and most of mine, like the last year I did it, I sold all my inflatables to buy new ones, and I didn't get started until the first week of July. So July, I think it was actually the day, June 30th. So that was my first rental, and just in the few months, 3 or 4 months, I did that many rentals, which was insane. But I never had any liability issues. I think I owe that to safe practices. I set it up once on asphalt, and I never did it again. So just because if wind were to pick up, I now after one time of doing it on asphalt, it's just it made me think, wow, even with 50 pounds on each corner, a wind could just take that inflatable and hurt somebody. So I decided I'm only going to stake the bounce houses down, so I only set up on grass after that. Another thing he asked is, did you have any bad customers? I don't think I had intentionally bad customers. Some of the people, before even becoming a customer, people want discounts or free or complain about something or say, oh, this guy will do it for this price, But other than dirty units, so there's some pretty dirty units that would come back. Sometimes on a few units that are smaller, I'd have an option to pick up where they're pretty safe and they're not tall or top heavy to tip over. They stay on the ground pretty well. Those that allow people to pick up, and sometimes they come back pretty filthy. But another, I guess, not really bad customer, but so I didn't do Sunday rentals. I wanted a day off, and that was the day I wanted off. So I'd do Saturday night or Saturday evening or Saturday in the day, whenever I could fit it in, till Monday morning. And sometimes you tell people, hey, since I'm doing it overnight, I don't really want to do Sunday, but could you drain the pool before you deflate it on Saturday, and could you blow it back up for me Monday? And sometimes it wouldn't do that, and the unit would be all waterlogged, so you'd have to blow it up. And one time I did that, and it was really hard to move an already heavy water slide. It was a 420-pound water slide, and their yard was kind of on a hill. It was deflated. Their sprinklers were on. They weren't home, and trying to roll that up, was just slipping. I couldn't even get a grip on it. It was a little bit colder, and it was just hard to get it rolled up, and then getting it on the dolly. It was one of the worst rentals, but it had my 4-wheel dolly had one tire that was flat too, so it wasn't as easy as normal. But that one, I eventually got on there after saying a few prayers. Let's see, the hardest things for me in the bounce house rental business were the long hours So you'd get up early and go get them all set up, and then you'd have a break throughout the day, which was nice. But then it's always in the back of your mind, I got to go pick all these up, you know? So you go start out at like 6 or so whenever customers were ready, and then go start picking them up, and it would go into the night a lot of the time, because a lot of the time it's Friday, Saturday business, mainly a Saturday business. And it was hard to go in late in the night, because no matter what, even if you wear waterproof shoes, water still gets inside your shoes, and your feet are wet and cold, and your muscles are all sore, your hands are tired, you know. And another thing about the late nights and weekends is you miss out on family time. Another hard thing for me when I was doing the bounce house rental business was it's physically demanding. So it's a lot of work when you're moving 300 or 400 pound bounce houses by yourself, and you can't call in sick because you set the date. You know, you have to fulfill what you agreed to with the customer, or you're gonna get a bad review. Another hard thing was hills. So getting a heavy bounce house up, you know, when you go, I'm in Utah, so some of the people's backyards are up on the mountain, you know, and their backyards are kind of terraced, so you have to get up there, and sometimes, you know, they don't have access for your truck and trailer, so you have to go and wheel it up, and those are pretty hard. But and the worst rental ever. So the worst rental I had ever, the customer had just gotten new grass, and like a day or two before, and they're like, we don't really want it on the grass. And I told them I'd put a tarp down before I came, you know, to help their grass. And when I got there, you know, it was a different story. So I probably should have just left, but so right next to the grass was dirt, and I said, okay, as long as I'm gonna put a tarp down, and hopefully it's clean, you know, try to spray it off before, and it was a Sunday rental, so I set it up Saturday, and I was like, if you could spray it off and just blow it up for me Monday, and none of that got done. And then I show up Monday to pick it up, and it's just so muddy, you know. The soil was more clay, and it was just silty all over the bounce house. And so I blew it up to try to get some of the water off of it, you know, and even sprayed it off a little bit, and then I said, this isn't gonna work, you know. So I just deflated. I'm like, I just gotta get it home. And rolling it up, it just took me forever. And it took me about 40 minutes, and it was just slippery. I couldn't get a good roll at all. Like, it looked like the worst roll I've ever done. I couldn't get a good roll on it, and it was just so slippery. I was covered in mud from head to toe, like all over my body, you know, trying to get a grip on this thing, bear hugging it to roll it. And I finally got on the trailer, and then that's not the end of the story. When I get home and set it up in my yard, it takes me an hour of nonstop just spraying it off and rubbing the mud off with my hands, and I didn't ever do that again. So I told people just to set it up on grass. I'd only set up on grass, and it has to be good grass, can't be all this muddy, you know. Which in some areas you can't do that, you know. You don't have grass, you only have concrete or stuff to set it up on. But for me, most people have grass, so I'd rather have the easier money than something that comes with liabilities and more work. So those are some of the things. I don't think I faced too many issues. Like, there's obviously, just as you're doing the business, you improve and you do things, you change things. Like I got a better dolly, and then I built me a hand truck or a dolly to make it way easier to move the inflatables. You kind of just progress as you go. And I must have lucked out on the liability and bad customers, because all my customers were great. If you have any other questions, just let me know, and I'll try to make videos that relate to your questions, and see if I can help you guys get started in any of these businesses. Thanks for watching.